Hello. Bet you weren't expecting this. Yes, I'm actually appearing in person for once. I'm using my webcam, which I've had for a while now. It's very cheap, but that's not the point. I'm actually here to talk about something serious. That's why I am appearing here in person today. Normally, I would use just like a little cartoony character. No, none of that. This is serious. So, what's the problem? Simple. YouTube is killing small creators over their age verification. What is age verification? Countries like the UK have essentially implemented laws that are meant to essentially strike back at big tech. You know, the whole idea is that they're meant to really just get back at them for, just for allowing kids to see things that they really shouldn't, and that's the whole thing. Except it doesn't really do that. For one, the age verification system requires an ID. And usually only an ID, because any other form of verification, whether it be credit card, birth certificate, anything like that, that would normally be somewhat validating. I mean, it wouldn't be smart to do, but it would be validating. It's only ID that's allowed. That's problem number one. Problem number two, it stores all your information. So any information that is sent off to these big companies, the entire reason that they are doing this is to get information that they otherwise would have to find other ways to kind of finagle around in order to really get in there and work on getting the information, like your name, your location, stuff like that. They would need to do all kinds of roundabout ways. Now they can just get it at the source. No need to go through all these added hurdles of like asking people, hey, what's your name? Where's your address? Stuff like that. You don't need to go to weird, like sketchy quiz sites anymore. No, none of that. Because the UK and several United States have implemented age verification laws, that means that now these companies have a reason to actually get your ID, which has pretty much everything on there. I mean, if I was to just look at my own, I mean, it has my date of birth, it has my name, my residence, it has my height, my my expiration date, it has my eye color for whatever reason, if you wanted that. It's green, by the way. But the point is, all of that information is on your ID. And so whenever you send it to these companies, they're able to use that information along with everyone else in your area, alongside everyone else from your age range, with the same colored eyes. And they're able to actually use that information to sell you things. And that sounds pretty weird already, but there's a lot more to it than that, because now these companies also like to trade it back and forth between each other, and that way they can start really, really going after what you like specifically. This is not new knowledge. This is very common knowledge. I mean, I've known about it for years. Most people have known about it for years, but now they're just able to get it at the source. Now, here's the other problem. Hacking is a very common thing. I'm sure many people remember the big Discord hack that happened whenever age verification was becoming a thing for that. That is entirely because apparently they decided what would be a good idea is to train their AIs. What they would do is essentially store your ID, not your AI. They would store your ID on a database with everyone else's IDs. So what happens whenever that gets leaked to the public and malicious users get a hold of it? I'll tell you what, identity theft, which is highly illegal, and it is basically being perpetrated by these big companies, and it's almost what feels like a form of malicious compliance. The other problem is that it doesn't account for people using fake IDs and whatnot, because again, it's AI doing the work. AI doesn't know how to differentiate a fake ID from a real ID. It's not looking at someone's face and going, hey, you don't have the right face. It's not doing that because it can't. Instead, all it cares about is you put an ID into the system. It'll look at the age and then store that information for later, which is why a lot of people, whenever Discord was first starting with age verification, would actually use the leaked IDs of various politicians. I wish I was joking about that, but no, people actually were doing that, and apparently it was working. And I'm not advocating for that, by the way, because that is very illegal. That is identity theft, and that is not okay. I don't care who you are, what level of like crazy you are, that is not a good thing to do. Don't do that. But the whole thing is that age verification is mainly being used to sanitize the internet. Obviously, I've already talked about the fact that the reason that companies were on board with things like the OSA and other sort of laws that are going into effect in various countries and states and whatnot, the reason that they're invested in it is because they get the information out of people. They get all that information. They can use it for advertising, targeted marketing, all sorts of stuff. And then they can sell it to other companies, which is worth billions, if not trillions of dollars, just because you know someone's name. And previously, this stuff would be hard to get through. You know, this stuff would be kind of hard to get, but not anymore. Now you could just literally say, hey, you just start doing this or we're going to deactivate your account, which has happened already. And let's be clear, children were never the reason that these laws were going into effect. It was all just a ploy, just a smokescreen in order for people with some moral high ground, if they will, trying to suppress the freedom of speech and expression of others through legality because they're losing their own moral high ground. The problem is they're fighting, and they're fighting like cornered animals. I am sorry. I just smacked my microphone. There's another problem with regards to immigration. As many people will know, well, this isn't exactly a surprising point. Nationalism across the world is a major point of politics in the modern day. To be fair, that's very much downplaying the situation. That's like saying that there was a small detonation in Hiroshima. That shit was a nuke. But here's the thing. By not sending your ID that you cannot have, because guess what? You're not in the country legally, or, you know, maybe your country is having problems, functioning because there's war and shit going on, so you can't get an ID. Well, now you're effectively suppressed. You cannot speak online because guess what? You can't prove that you're 18 plus, quote unquote, or 13 plus, quote unquote. Instead, you're just forced to just shut up. That doesn't sound like a good thing to me. Obviously, big companies like Google and whatnot are also big on working with immigration agencies, which means that if you do send them your ID and you are an immigrant, or even if you're just on a temporary visa, they will pass that information under the table to these government agencies and say, hey, go get them. And all of this leads me to the problem at hand. My best friend in the whole world, the Spasmatic Banana. I call him Moth. He's somewhat big channel, 70,000 subscribers. That's good, by the way. And he's not even monetized. So getting that many subscribers without being monetized on basically doing whatever the hell he wants, good shit there. And he's mostly known for his videos he had a video on myhouse.wad when that was new. He had videos on Hotline Miami. Most notable and recent is his videos on Voices of the Void. But recently he started doing streaming because it's a fun time, and I've even joined him on some of these streams. You may have seen my little pink cat creature or my goo shark. But this is where problems begin. On his streams, he would do a random YouTube archaeology sort of thing, which is essentially where he would search for videos before a certain time. So, looking at videos from before 2010, for example. And the big thing is that essentially he managed to find a video called basically Call of Duty Zombies in Real Life, which was a bunch of like kids, probably like 10 to 13 years old, somewhere in there. And they were all just playing with like toy guns, just having a fun time. That's what we did as kids. It was fun. This video took the entire live stream down. As soon as he was done watching it, as soon as he was clicked off, it was taken down for that reason. And so he repealed the claim. There was a claim on the video. It wasn't anything super serious from what I know, but okay. And within 10 minutes, he got a really weird message. Repeal rejected, strike removed. That just doesn't make any sense. So he started streaming again, and his stream got taken down a second time. This time it was because he had to verify his age to make sure that he was over 13 years old. How does he do this? He has to send in an ID. His Google account is 14 years old. So if Google has access to that metric, which I'm sure they do, but I'm not going to, be conspiratorial or anything. Fucking loud ass truck, really? That's the other bad thing about AI is loud ass trucks in the middle of nowhere, Texas. But yes, if they had that information, they can use it. Even then, it's not that hard to ask, hey, how old is your YouTube channel? Oh, it's 14. Okay, yeah, sure. But that's not what they're doing because they don't have people to ask these questions. That means that he has to send in an ID. He has attempted to send in a birth certificate, which has your date of birth on there. That will not cut it, apparently. Even though that has information like your name and your birthday, and it undeniably shows where in the world, when in time you were born, this apparently does not count as a valid form of age verification. So his only remaining option is having an ID. Now, most people, like myself, have an ID, but there are some people, for various reasons, who don't have an ID. And this can be any number of reasons. It could even just be that they lost their ID and haven't, gone and gotten it renewed anytime recently. That happens a lot. But the reason that he doesn't have an ID is because he lives in Kentucky. And this is where I did a little bit of sleuthing. So what I have here is essentially the official Kentucky, driver's license valid documents that you need to bring in order to get an ID. The first thing is obviously a proof of identity. And this can be anything from a birth certificate, a passport, citizenship documents. We know that he has a birth certificate. He tried to use that in order to get validated as being older than 13 years old. The second thing, proof of social security number, which is like a social security card, SNAP replacement printout, W-2s, which he can't really do because he can't really work. He more than likely has one of those as well. The third thing is proof of residency, and this is where things fall apart. You need at least two of these things. You need two of either a utility bill, a telephone bill, a bank statement, state or federal tax return, pay slip or salary statement, Kentucky voter registration card, U.S. Postal Service postmarked mail, Kentucky driver's license, instruction permit, or personal identification card, which he cannot get, by the way, because he's legally blind. He cannot get a driver's license, Kentucky vehicle registration, property tax bill, IRS forms, W-2 or 1099, lease or rental agreement, mortgage statement, insurance policy, record from an educational institution in Kentucky which establishes enrollment, Kentucky titles, Kentucky hunting or fishing license. And as I'm sure you can probably guess, he has none of those. He has none of those, and because of that, he cannot get an ID in the state of Kentucky, which is where he lives. For transparency's sake, I do have, obviously I'm not going to show it on camera, I do have a driver's license. And the way that I got it here in Texas was really simple. It was quite literally just go down with my social security, go down with my birth certificate, and they're like, all right, you're good to go. But Kentucky is completely different. And because of that, him being an invalid means that he cannot get an ID, which means that now he will not be able to get into his YouTube channel, all because YouTube doesn't want to prove that he is 13 years old unless he doxes himself using a stupid government-issued ID. I bring all this up in order to ask, what can people like me do to help? I mentioned before, this is my best friend in the whole world. I messaged him on a whim. We hit it off really quickly. And this guy he means a lot to me. He has inspired me in so many ways, whether it be through art or videos or even just continuing to live on because that's what I needed to do. And I know that he more than likely means a lot for people like you as well. Or maybe you're a small channel who is fearing that this is going to happen someday to you, or you're fearful that other small channels are going to run into the same issues. So what can you do to help? Well, the first major thing is to obviously spread the word. This is a social media platform. Even if YouTube doesn't want to act like it is, like it's it's a video streaming service, actually. No, it is actually social media because people like me can post these videos online. Tell your favorite streamers, tell your favorite content creators that this is happening. Go to your communities on various social medias like Blue Sky and whatnot. Just tell everyone. And if you need them to have a video, if you need a video to send their way, send this video. That's why I'm making this video, is so that you can send something to someone. That way they have something to go off of. The second thing is if you happen to have an X or Twitter account still, which I am shocked that you do, but if you do happen to have one, at Team YouTube. This is the only known way currently that we are able to get a hold of YouTube, because they don't respond to normal people. They use chat bots everywhere in order to try to, hello, loud ass truck. YouTube doesn't have people anymore. It has chatbots, AI, all kinds of stuff. And the only way that people have ever in the past been able to get through to a person is through mass posting on Twitter. And only Twitter, because that's where they exist. And the final thing I would say is to make your own video. Whether you're a fan of Moth or me or anyone else who could be affected by age verification in this way, this is corporate overreach, blatantly so. I want you to make a video about this. I want you to talk about this. We are beyond the point of being able to sit around and do nothing and hope that it goes well. We can't do that anymore. And that's what this year has been about for me personally, has been about actually standing up and trying to do things, even though I'm super depressed all the time and all I can do is basically click on monsters playing Path of Exile all day, which is what I would rather be doing right now as opposed to making this video. But here we are. My best friend needs me. And you know what? I'm going to tell people mean words on the internet because that's who I am. And obviously we all know that AI is bad. I don't need to repeat all of the stuff about it being bad for the environment, it costing people their jobs, or even the fact that it's hoarding personal information, which is something I've talked about many times because that's my reason for opposing it. We have all heard this before, and plenty of times. I don't need to say this. You know it. We all know it. But there's good news. Here in America, we are currently experiencing our midterms. And what I want you to do is look at your ballots. If there's any propositions against AI and its blatant overreach, if there's any candidates who are trying to oppose AI, I want you to vote for them. Because we all know AI is bad. You don't need me to tell you that, but you do need to actually do something. And even then, even if it's the illusion of choice, I would rather say that I voiced myself than stay silent and hope that it all blows over. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope that you take a bit of this to heart. And yeah, goodbye.